Continuing with our tutorial on Zero Trust supported with Microsoft Solutions. In the first demo, all right, so actually that's not what I want. All right, so in the first demo, we went over solutions related to the identities. We talked about Microsoft Entra ID. We didn't cover Microsoft Defender for identity. Uh, that would be actually beyond the scope of this tutorial. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's a feature that it is also used. Um, anyway, so we cover a lot of the stuff about Microsoft Entra ID. Now, in this second demo, we are going to cover Microsoft solutions related to endpoints. And again, as I promised, this is a hands-on tutorial. So we're going to go directly into the portal to basically showcase or go through a tour of the solution that you would use in Microsoft to support Zero Trust. So this is the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You find that at admin.microsoft.com. Obviously, you need to have an admin account in order to do some of the things that I'm to take a look at this, but you can create a Microsoft would allow you to create a free account. Um, so we are going to talk about things related to the endpoints. So we're going to go directly to the Microsoft uh, Defender for Endpoint, or MDE. So if I click on the security admin portal, it will get me to security.microsoft.com. This is where you would manage. Now, one of the things is that with Microsoft, there are many controls in different portals. Let me explain. So here we are at the one of the things that we talked about again is that those devices need to onboarding. So we're talking about an EDR solution. So Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or MDE, is an EDR solution, endpoint detect and response. In other words, it will uh, detect malicious activities into end vulnerabilities in your endpoints, and then it will uh, remediate some of those things automatically. Other things may have to be done manual, but in any case, devices need to be onboarded. And the onboarding process, there are different options. Whether if you use Intune, for example, it's one of the most common ways that big companies do that, because Intune is an endpoint management solution that you can manage tons of things with Intune. But the device need to be either register or hybrid joined or Azure joined into Azure AD before you can do a lot of these things. We're going to take a brief look at most of those things. But in any case, so here is the Microsoft Defender portal. And from here, there's a number of things depending on the this is a brand new environment, so we're not going to have a lot of data to show. And also, it all depends on the level of license that you have. But so let's take a look at this. That's actually one of the first things that I ask people to check, because if you see things differently is because maybe you don't have the right licensing. So if you come to the system option here at the bottom, and then you click on settings. Let's take a look at the licensing. So we're gonna go into endpoints, and let's take a look at, we're gonna talk about those advanced features later on, but let's take a look at the licenses. All right, so I have a Microsoft Defender for Business. So it says this plan's features, capabilities are applied to all devices, and I have a total of number of licenses. So this is a trial subscription that I have to create. In the trial subscription, you have to use a credit card. You just got to make sure that you cancel that subscription at the end of the subscription period, which is 1 month. Anyway, so I'm good. I have the license that I need. So going back into the some of the features. So we talked about endpoint detection and response, which again detects, investigates, and responds to advanced endpoint threats. That's one of the main things. So in the if we look at the asset, when you log in, just go back a little bit. When you log in, this is the home page, and here you would get a summary of the things that are going on in what is called the SOC optimization blade. So you get whether you have any incidents that are active, things that have been dismissed, things that are in progress. So this is a very good overview of things that are going on. As I said previously, there is not much data in this environment because I recently created this trial account. But if we look at assets and then we go into devices, because most of the stuff that we're going to look over here, it's related to devices. I have onboarded one device. And so here we see the total number of devices. Okay, so we are on the all devices tab, and then the devices will be listed over here. So this is the device name, this is the IP address, and there is also other relevant information, including the OS, the version, and that kind of stuff. And all of this, you could export this information into an Excel spreadsheet with a lot of information. So if you need to create a report for technical purposes or for management or whatsoever. You could also connect some of this data to Power BI for uh, visualization, especially if you need to do presentations to senior management. But anyway, so if we look at this, so these are all the devices. Here is the computers and mobile. So here will be all the computers, and let's say if you have phones and laptops, basically that are managed by Intune, all those devices will be here. Now, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint will detect anything that has an IP address that is connected to your network. So you will also detect network devices like routers and switches and the sort. Um, and you may not be able to manage them uh, the same as you would manage a computer that is onboarded, because these devices do not support the onboarding to MDE, but you have visibility into what's connecting. If somebody comes in and connect to your Wi-Fi network or plug in a cable and connect a computer, at least you would see those devices. So this is a great piece over here, a great feature, because it gives you complete visibility into your network, and so anyone that connects there. So if any of those devices are IoT or OT, operational, right, devices, critical infrastructure devices, you can also see that over there. And there is also a list of uncategorized devices if it doesn't fit any of those features over there. But in most cases, the The ones that we're going to be dealing with, and especially in this tutorial, is computers, whether in servers and laptop. Now, in another important thing, so yes, you could onboard servers as well. This is not just when we are talking about endpoints in the context of what we're talking about, servers are also included. So I usually like to refer to as end user devices to refer to the laptops with, Windows 10, Windows 11, or Mac devices. So yes, MDE supports Windows devices, Linux, Mac OS, Android, and all that stuff, and iOS devices, the phones as well. You could onboard your iPhones and Android. But anyway, so here is, I have only one device. If I click on that device, then I would get information, obviously, about the category, whether uh, the the subtype, discovery sources, the OS, the domain that is joined to. This is my lab um, at home. You get the IP addresses, the MAC address. There's a lot of information. Last time that it was seen, whether it is a valid user or not, and whether endpoint DLP, if it's protected by DLP. Here we see that that's not. And DLP is another big feature that we talked about in the zero trust with Microsoft Solutions presentation. So again, tons of information about that device that I can see over here, and so it will give you the risk level. So again, there is not much information, as I said before, because this is a new environment and I recently onboarded this device. So this is just an overview. In the incidents and alerts tab, so here you would see all the alerts. And an alert is any event, it's recorded. It, but alerts doesn't mean much. It could be just be a simple information alert. Now, a collection of events of alerts then sometimes create an incident, right? So an incident usually either uh, normally an incident is more than one alert, because the alert could be, well, the user log on, and then once it's log on, well, it's legitimate, it's not legitimate, it's trying to install something. So usually incident is a collection of alerts, something that needs to be looked at. So that's basically, if a single alert create an incident, it will be shown as an incident, then you would take into that. But anyway, so here you would see the incident ID, whether there is any tag, and the severity. This is really important, right? Because you don't want to waste time with noise. You don't want to waste time with things that actually you can filter these things out, right? Um, but here says that this is a medium severity, and the categories is execution. So what that means is that a user called instructor on this device, client one, executed something, right? And so if we expand this incident, execution incident on endpoint, and then it says suspicious PowerShell command line. So that's what happened over here, right? Um, Somebody, well, I just said who, executed a PowerShell command, okay? What does that mean? Let's take a look at this. So here you would see the process tree. So everything that happens, and it will give you a timeline, minute by minute, second by second, exactly what happens. So um, this is the user initiation process. It was open, explorer.exe, all of it. The user opened CMD, which is the command prompt. And then they opened PowerShell and they executed this command. Now, it says this is a suspicious PowerShell command line. And then, um, so here it's more information, and it's basically it will give you a whole bunch of information about if you expand any of this, you get more information. Like here you see the prompt and the this says that this is SHA 256, blah blah blah. Anyway, so this is something that I did on purpose to generate this alert and to be able to demonstrate this. So I know that this is a false positive. This is nothing that I have to worry about. Okay, so because this is not nothing that I need to worry about, but if this was a legitimate instead of a false positive would be a true positive, then I would have to investigate. And again, we're not going to go under all the stuff that you could do over here, but um, we know that this is not something serious. And you get some more information here. How you would manage this alert? Well, you can click on this. It's a new alert. You can categorize this alert, okay? And basically, you could assign it to someone. So let's say there is a SOC team, there's a group of people, somebody, would be in charge of assigning this alert to whoever, right? The classification is not set. I could say that this is phishing, configuration activity. Let's see. Well, I could say, well, this is not malicious. Let me classify it as that because I know that it is not malicious, right? And then I can put a comment. This is a test, right? So I can put a comment here. And the reason this is really important, right? Because the reason is that we want people to come in, right? So now you can say, new, resolve, in progress. I don't want to resolve it because I want to use this in the future. I don't want to leave it as new either. So I'm going to say that this is in progress, meaning that someone came in here, one of the security analysts came in here and managed this alert. So I'm going to click on save. All right. And so now I am managing that alert. Anyway, so that's, one of the many things that you can do here. So going back into the client, okay, so we got, again, incidents and alerts. Here we can go to the security recommendations. So if there's any recommendations, then we can come over here because Microsoft Defender for Endpoint also, uh, if you have the proper license, you could also have vulnerability management. So you can use, instead of using a product like, Nexus Tenables or Rapid 7 or, the number of products out there, you can actually use Microsoft Vulnerability Management. So you don't need to get another product. You can do it with Microsoft as well, which is, again, this is, vulnerability management is a core component of the zero trust framework. So there's another thing you could do here. But anyway, so um, if you get any recommendations, they would come over here. When you go to inventories, you can see an inventories of all the software installed in your environment. So you could look over here, look for software that has been installed that maybe you don't want people to install, right? You can discover anything that is installed on any device that is managed by MDE, that is onboarded to MDE. You can discover that software over here. Now, I want to say, if it is a piece of software that it's running as a process, it's not going to be, and that's something that Microsoft probably need to fix in the future. But any program that has a window that you can, log into the program will be inventoried here. Again, so you can look at all the vulnerabilities that you have, if you have any. This is a new environment, that's why you don't see. It would take, it can take up to 24 hours when you create a new environment for the instance to populate. If you have any missing KBs, any device configuration issues, all of that will be shown for devices over there. So really important thing. So again, You can do exposure management. So you can look at the attack surface and with MDE. If you have Microsoft Defender, if you have the right license attack surface, you can create a map to look at your attack surface. And there are policies that you can create to reduce the attack surface. Okay. You can another feature we talked about, the security score. You can look at your security score here. Again, I don't have enough information to look at that. We talked a lot about threat intelligence. We're going to come back to threat intelligence because there is a another video that, so I'm not going to cover that over here, but this is all part of that. We were to the we're in the asset. We Microsoft Defender, the Microsoft Defender portal, what they have done is they have consolidated a whole bunch of other solutions into one. So from here, you can go to Microsoft Sentinel if you have the proper license. You can go to endpoint management. For example, if you have vulnerability management, then you need a license for this. But if you do have vulnerability management, then you can come here and you can see all the vulnerabilities. And again, here you can go back to recommendations. You can go to remediations. Um, it'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to remediate the vulnerabilities in your environment. So again, this is a great thing. Um, Anyway, so here you can deal with the stuff related to Exchange Online, so email and collaboration, cloud ops. There's a whole bunch of other things that we will cover. But anyway, so MDE is an EDR, detect, investigates, and response. So if we go back to the, let me show you. If we go back to devices, actually, I can go to incidents right from here. So in investigation and response, I can go back into, I could do hunting, running KQL queries and stuff like that. I could proactively hunt for issues and threats in my environment. But if I go to incidents, all right, um, and I choose one of this instance over here. Okay, so again, um, the first step is, so it was detected. Okay, it couldn't remediate this automatically because basically shows you everything that it did. It actually it ran, right? But uh, if this had been a threat, and this would have, let's say, the PowerShell script that would try to go to a command and control center in the internet to download and install some ransomware software, MD would stop that, and then it would try to remediate this automatically. Now, um, there's some settings that need to be configured for that to happen, and this is not the scope of this tutorial because of timing. But anyway, so basically we are in this is the detected phase of EDR, and then the remediation, well, it's in progress. In this case, this is a manual remediation, right? A lot of the stuff could be remediated automatically and then it will be shown over here. But in this case, it is a manual remediation. All right. So anyway, so there's a lot to Microsoft Defender um, for endpoint that we talked about. One of the things, if we go back to settings and we go to endpoint, this is where you would come and basically configure um, Microsoft Defender for endpoint. And one of the things that we talked about is that, so by default, uh, EDR in block mode is enabled. And what does that mean? So when EDR in block mode is turned on, Microsoft Defender leverages behavioral blocking and containment capability by blocking malicious artifacts or behaviors observed through post-breach endpoint detection and response, or EDR capability. Now, this feature does not change how Microsoft Defender for endpoint detection, alert generation, and incident correlation happens, but normally you want to have this on because a lot of companies do not use uh, Microsoft Defender for endpoint as their primary, antivirus solution or EDR solution. So they may have another solution, but when you have this turned on, that means that MDE will be in what is called black mode, in passive mode. It will be on the background. And if something happens and that other antivirus software doesn't catch, Microsoft will catch on that, and will try to stop it as well. So that's what I wanted to say. But anyway, so there's tons of stuff that is done by default. There is other things that you may have to turn on depending on the solutions that you have, right? So um, and again, oh, so one things that the this live response is a great feature because basically this allows users with the appropriate RBAC permissions to investigate devices that they are authorized to access. So let's say that there is, let's go back to devices. Let's say that this incident that we just looked at, that this was something really bad, and let's say that this was a malicious piece of software, and something is really going on, and we say, hey, this is really bad, right? We need to do something with this device. If you select this device, if you click on these three dots over here where it says device status, there is a number of things that you can do to this device, okay? And one of those things is what is called device isolation, right? Or isolate the device. So what happens here is that you can completely disconnect this device from your network, from your environment, so that it doesn't, you know, uh, doesn't do any damage, right? Or if it is a ransomware attack, so that that ransomware doesn't spread, or does anything. So device isolation will disconnect the device. You will be able to connect to the MDE servers on the internet for remediation purposes. So that's the only connection. Microsoft by default allows you to um, connect to MDE, and you will also have Teams connection, so you can communicate with whoever. The owner of this device could be in another city, in another country, etc. And you, as a or the cybersecurity analyst, is working with this user. So the live response basically means that you can disconnect the device, but you could also connect to this device. There is a built-in console with a whole bunch of tools that a cybersecurity analyst can connect to this device to remediate whatever is happening on that device. So there's a number of things that you can do. As you can see, we're not going to go over obviously all of these things over here because um, Microsoft Defender, it has its own certification. So if you want to have, if you want to be an expert, the SC200, you could actually be a Microsoft cybersecurity professional, right? And it's a very tough certification, actually. So I do have the Microsoft certification. So I am a Microsoft certified uh, cybersecurity analyst. There is another one called the Microsoft certified architect, which I also have, which is also, very difficult certification, but they're very, very good if you really want to understand the suite of products of Microsoft. But anyway, that's beyond what we are trying to accomplish over here. So um, Microsoft Defender, a lot of the stuff that you can do with this, it's a very good product. And again, so a lot of people don't know this about Microsoft. So um, I'm not saying that this is the best solution. It's one of the best, It depends on your environment, but give it a try. Just try it out. You can try it out for free. You don't have to buy it. You can try it out. And also, it's everything in a business. It's about money. Look at the cost, return on investment, right? The ROI, the solution that you have. How much are you paying? Compare with Microsoft. I don't know. You may be able to save money and have a better product or not, right? It all depends on the company. My main point is that give it a chance, right? It's funny how a lot of people, when you talked about, well, first of all, when people don't know something, they tend to dismiss it, right? Oh, Microsoft security, but you just don't know, right? Once you get to know the product, if you look at the Gartner Quarter, Microsoft Defender, it's one of the best solutions out there. And again, so there you go. Um, this is the Endpoints Pillar with Microsoft Defender. Oh, actually, before we um, disconnect from here, so remember all these products work together. This is the Intune.microsoft.com portal, right? So, because in a big company, having Intune to manage these devices, using the endpoint security feature. So once you connect all those devices, so you got Intune, you got Microsoft Defender for endpoint. There's a number of products, right? And also, so those devices need to be registered with Intune or Hybrid Join or Azure Join, whatever. So here I am at the portal.azure.com and I am on the devices blade. And if I click on the number of devices, so this is in Azure. So the device needs to be um, joined somehow to Azure. There are three ways that you can join device to Azure, depending on the type of device. We're not going to go into that. But here is my device, and then you also get information. So the device go first, it needs to be in Azure. From Azure, you can connect it to Intune, where you can do a lot more stuff. And then you can connect Intune to MDE through a connector. So that any device that is onboarded to Intune will automatically be onboarded to MDE. So again, there's a lot of stuff. It needs some expertise. That's what I said, that if you are going to start the journey to zero trust with any solution, but in this case with Microsoft solutions, one of the things you need to do is to prepare. And preparing, one of the key components of the preparation phase is that you need to have the right skill set on board. So you need to have the right people. You need to hire the right people or train the people that you already have in order to accomplish this. All right. Anyway, so with that, I conclude the second pillar of the zero trust supported with Microsoft solutions. So as always, remember to like my channel if you like it. If you think this is useful, then like it. If you don't think this is useful, of course, then, but you would help me a lot by subscribing to my channel, because this would allow me to grow my channel and continue producing um, this tutorials for free. So I hope to see you next on um, the third pillar of the zero trust journey. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next video.